No title fight is complete without a little bit of controversy, right? I guess these days, Alexa Grasso, she defends her belt. And the saying is very true. If you want to be the champion, you have to beat the champion. And a lot of people, they're divided on the scorecard of this fight. And I think that's neither here nor there. So take the scorecard out of the equation. AJ, honest, genuine thoughts. Who do you feel won the fight?
Ooh, I feel like Shevchenko was winning the fight until basically history repeated herself, and then Alexa Grasso had that fast, really back snatch where basically, like I said, relived history, and that kind of I can see why that swayed the judges to give Alexa Grasso that last round, and it all depends on how you scored it from there. I had Shevchenko winning it, all of it, all the entire fight. But that last visual, Derek, does it hold a lot of weight as it does with the judges that this might have turned the fight for Grasso with that last back taken submission and basically controlling her for about another minute on the ground? Does it hold a lot of weight for you?
It held a lot of weight, I think, specifically because how do you go from that to then saying, and new champion Valentina Shevchenko, right? Visually, Mexican Independence Day, I was there at the arena. It was crazy. All the Mexican flags were out. It felt like a boxing match, Floyd Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya. Like, that's what it felt like, right? So I do think that there could have been a little bit of pressure on the judges and pretty much on everybody to go in sway of the Mexican fighters. But then again, that didn't stop them from giving a straight up 30-27 to Kyle Nelson over Fernando Padilla. So we can't just sit there and just blanket statement, oh, Mexican Independence Day. I did think that because Shevchenko did mention that, that was a little bit of a sore loser mentality right there. You don't really want to see that. But I think this is the thing that stands the most true. If you're thinking about the first fight and you're thinking this history repeated itself, you're not taking in consideration that Shevchenko almost finished Grasso in the second round of the fight, right? So when you think about who came closer to a fight finishing sequence, I would argue was actually Shevchenko in this fight, and I don't think that she got the credit for that. So when I'm looking at who do I thought won this fight, I thought Shevchenko was cruising to a victory until Grasso took the back, and then I think that muddied everything. And I think that that's more in line with like the reasonable take right there. Would you agree?
Way more in line, and I'm not upset by the split decision outcome of this fight. It's just that last round scored by Mike Bell that really got everybody wondering, because draw for a championship, nobody wants to see it, nobody wants to hear it, even if it is the most likely outcome. It's what the vast majority of people are thinking should be happening. Nobody really wants to take that outlook, especially when you scored as a 10-8 on the last round and you're the only one. Man, I'm excited, Derek. I don't know if you have it pulled up yet for the media scorecards. I'm interested to see how they have it, because that right there is going to tell quite the story going forward. But like I said in the intro, I'm glad they're keeping the judges accountable for their actions and actually listing their names on their scorecards now, because it provided a talking point for us. At least there's that. But I think it was very, very controversial of a call. What do you think, Derek? You got those pulled up?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. You read my mind right there. You know we're going to talk about it here. And it's not what you want to see when I pull up the MMA decisions. What you see right here is pretty much the consensus. It's down the middle, man. There's no consensus here. Everybody thought it was pretty much 50-50. So when you're taking a look at it, I'm not going to actually go out here and just count one by one. But the entire point is consensus from the media is it could have gone either way. There is no reasonable take right here that any fighter had a 10-8 round in any of the rounds right there. Because if you give Alexa Grasso a 10-8 in round 5, you should have gave Shevchenko a 10-8 in round 2, right? Like that's fair. So I do agree with Valentina Shevchenko when she says that 10-8 round 5 was unfair. And it almost feels borderline criminal. Like it feels corrupt. It feels like boxing. And I hate to say that, but that's what it felt like. Now, AJ, let's talk really quickly before we kind of dissect that a little bit more. What did we learn in this matchup? Because all of this aside, I think this distracts us from the point of what we saw here in this rematch. And I think that it's one of the most exciting flyweight title fights that we've probably seen in recent history. Two, we actually learned a lot about both Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko here. And my question to you is about the former, Alexa Grasso. She's not this fluke. She's not this one-hit wonder. What did we learn about the current champion?
She's a dog, Derek. That's what I learned. She's willing to stand there and trade and actually get to work in there with one of what looked like one of the most aggressive, most powerful versions of Shevchenko we've seen. When Shevchenko's sitting there bouncing, staying sturdy on that front foot, Alexa Grasso had no problem sitting there and giving it right back to her. That was impressive, as well as the calmness Alexa Grasso can be when hurt, when also she's the one doing the damage, and composed and calm in that aspect in order to get the fight to where it most benefits her. completely kind of blew my mind that she's able to kind of transform into that championship mentality and really took that belt to heart and kind of, grew a level in her game. Derek, what did you learn going forward?
For Alexa Grasso, I learned a lot of those similar things. I also learned that she does have that grit that a lot of people don't have. She found herself in a fight-ending sequence. She could have given up. She could have been like, oh, I don't know how tight that mounted guillotine was, right? I don't know how in danger she felt when she had her back. Shevchenko wasn't even really going for a choke. She was just kind of trying to control arms and stopped getting punched in the face. But I just felt like she displayed a grit and a tenacity of an actual legitimate true champion. So it's somebody that you can be proud of to say this is the leader of the division right here. Unfortunately, the other thing that I learned is that she's going to have massive problems if she can't stop these takedowns, man. If Shevchenko is taking you down like that, which Shevchenko is a very talented grappler that doesn't get the credit that she deserves, what is Erin Blanchfield going to do? You know what I mean? Like what are these other fighters, that have that repertoire? Like what are they going to do? Now, I do think that she has some sick jiu-jitsu off of her back. She was working that high guard, trying to work some triangles, things of that nature. But either way, man, a couple holes in the game. For Shevchenko, AJ, it's hard to learn new things about a dominant former champion, right? Someone who's 35 years old, somebody who's been doing this forever and has been reigning over the division. What'd you learn about Valentina?
This is going to be a hard one to say, Derek, but I learned that Valentina still kind of can't get out of her head, in those last moments when everything was going her way and then out of nowhere it wasn't. You saw the panic take forth. You saw the kind of excuses start to build up in her own head, and even leading that to the post-fight press conference, like you were saying, when she's talking about it might have swayed the judges. Nobody wants to see that. That's an excuse. It's something that's out of your control. I like when fighters are able to take accountability for their actions and not worry about anything else. So seeing that play out, as well as seeing the eyes of Valentina when she was in that ending sequence in round 5, being mounted, getting beat up on, she looks a little flustered and panicked. And that right there was an interesting one because, one, it tells me that the belt, meant a lot to her. It was really something she cared for and fought for and saw slipping out of her grasp. And then we saw her working her way back to that. So maybe, we all, I've said this before in the show previously, that Shevchenko's, normally the princess of the division. She has that air of queen to her. This might be the villain arc that Shevchenko needs to kind of set her going forward to prove that she is still relevant and dominating in the division. I would love to see a villain arc, Valentina turn heel. I don't think that's going to happen. Derek, what did you learn about Shevchenko?
That was actually a really fair take, man. I actually really enjoyed that. I didn't think about it from that angle. And I have a slightly similar one, but I'm going to take a twist on it. What I learned about Valentina Shevchenko is the unfortunate nature that she is not outside of the realm of all of the other former champions who sometimes somebody has your number or somebody gives you a style of fight that is incredibly difficult for you to overcome in a dominant fashion. She is not outside of the curse of a 35-year-old former champion who time catches up to you, man. And maybe you're not quite as fast as you used to be, or you didn't have quite as much sting on your shot, or you couldn't defend the takedown as well, or something like that. And you have what looks like the current versus the foundation. And I feel like Valentina Shevchenko is currently now slowly fading away into the foundation. And here's why. As a Valentina backer, as somebody who's rooting for her, as somebody who thought she won the fight, the realistic nature is she said she broke her thumb in the first round of the fight, right? And we get a split draw right here. Well, you have Erin Blanchfield, Taila Santos, Manon Fiorot all waiting in the wings for a title shot against Grasso. It doesn't particularly seem like it's going to be a lock for Shevchenko to get an immediate trilogy match. 35 years old, how long can you wait if you don't get the immediate rematch? If you get it and you finally get your title shot again and now you're 36, 37, we're starting to see slowly falling into the shadow. And I hate to say it because I love me some Valentina, but do you agree with that take or what do you think?
I do, Derek, and you're right. It does hurt to say, but the father time clock is ticking and pretty rapidly and a little louder each and every single year that is right there for the bullet. I don't know. I was thinking about that. How long could Shevchenko wait for the title if she doesn't get the rematch? 1-2 fights, which is a year, half a year, somewhere in there. That seems like a long time. Mm-hmm. And nonetheless, if the champion does get hurt, whoever wins that does get hurt and Shevchenko has to wait a little bit longer. We're talking a year, 2 years right there, Derek. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I think Shevchenko has the talent and the repertoire to be able to do that, but I don't know if it's the best option for her going forward. I think she needs that immediate rematch, but you're right. It's not a lock.
It's not up to her either. That's the thing. I guarantee you should really want it. But if they pull a Duplessis and she's like, listen, I broke my thumb. I'm not ready to go on the date that they want. Insert Erin Blanchfield. Insert new champion. Insert now you don't get your shot. it was a very unconclusive main event here. I thought we learned a lot. I thought this was a fantastic title fight, probably one that can go down in the history books as a title classic, but no resolution here, and still Alexa Grasso. All right.